Hi, I'm Jim Watson, founder and president of Arc-Zone. Welcome to my shop. Let's talk about connecting a air-cooled TIG torch. Now, one of the most common calls we get is, I've got a torch, I've got a machine, how do I hook it up? So I want to spend a few minutes today and go over that. What we have here is a Miller power source, and we're not partial to red or blue, we just happen to have this one. And this particular machine has the DINS style connectors. Now, a DINS is a European style female panel mount receptacle. Okay? There's another type of connector out there which is a threaded stud. This would be an example of that, where it would actually have a half 13 threaded stud on the front of the machine. Okay? Now, depending upon the type of torch and the type of power source you have, that would determine the type of connector. So let's start with the DINS plugs because that's what's on here. Again, this machine has a water-cooled torch with the DINS plug, and basically the unit just unplugs from the front of the machine. On this particular power supply, it has an air-cooled gas-through DINS. In other words, the gas comes through from the flow meter regulator, through the power source, right through the front of the pin connector, and then onto the TIG torch. That's what we refer to as a gas-through DIN. Now, there's two different types of DINS plugs. There's a large DIN and a small DIN. And what we have here is the large. The majority of the power sources of this size feature the large DIN. Okay, so once you've determined the type of power source you have and the type of connector it has, which we've determined this one is a DINS gas-through, then we need to figure out what torch will connect to that machine and what adapter we need to connect it. This is a 200 amp power cable with a 7/8 right hand thread. Okay, now to hook this torch to the machine, you would need one of these adapters. And again, it's a 200 amp, so we would go with a 200 connector. And this particular Weldcraft part is a GT5 200. The GT means gas through. The 200 represents the cable connection. Okay? I'm not going to take this out of the packaging, but essentially these two connect together and plug into the front of the machine. If you have a 150 amp torch, which has a small 3/8 24 female or male nut, you would need a different adapter. And again, using a Weldcraft reference, this is a GT5 150. And again, the GT means gas through. So you would connect the power cable to this connector and then plug that into your machine. Now, very commonly in construction applications and that, there's what they call a two-piece cable. And that is shown here, where you would have an argon connection and a power connection. The power connection is simply a lug. I mentioned earlier that some of the power supplies have a threaded stud connection. So as an example, on the front of the machine, for the work lead or the ground, you would have a threaded stud, and on the power connection, you'd have a threaded stud. You can take a cable like this and bolt it directly to the stud, and then simply make your argon connection, or you can use a power cable adapter and adapt either one of the other torch combinations that we talked about. Again, just imagine that this stud would be on the machine. If you have the one-piece 150 amp torch, you'd simply connect this up. The torch connection goes through the front. The argon travels through the adapter. And if it's a 200 amp connection, you would use this adapter. Okay? And again, that bolts to the power source. The power connection and argon connection comes in through there. If you wanted to convert your power source to the DIN style plug, you would use this QCS-M connector. And again, what that does is it converts it from a threaded stud to the female DINS receptacle. So you could take any one of these DINS type plugs and just plug your torch right in. To summarize, that's how you hook up an air-cooled TIG torch. I'm Jim Watson from Arc-Zone.
If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call. If you're in the U.S., our toll-free number is 1-800-944-2243. Our worldwide number is 760-931-1500. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Our web store is open 24/7 at www.Arc-Zone.com.